Welcome to the first ET with GOTB episode of 2025. It is a new year with so much to look forward to. So let's get into it. I'm excited. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Welcome back and Happy New Year. Hopefully you managed to have a bit of a break over the women's football break, as we call it, because the men's football carried on throughout, as always. We have just returned from a week in Nashville, a birthday trip with my mom that we finally got round to. As you can see, I'm wearing my Tennessee hat to represent Nashville. We had a good time, didn't we?
We did. I've got a cowboy hat now.
You do. She does. She has a cowboy hat. I have some cowboy boots. We went all out. But yeah, I feel refreshed, ready to go. Lots to look forward to in 2025.
Yeah, lots to do.
Before we get going, this is your weekly reminder to subscribe and to follow us across all of our social media platforms at Girls on the Ball. We have got lots planned this year. And if you don't want to miss anything, following and subscribing is the best way to keep up to date with everything that we are doing. Now, we may not have fully kicked off our season yet. That is coming this weekend. But in your most recent Moving the Goalposts, it's what inspired me for this episode, which I thought would be a nice kind of way to kick off the year and the season. It was about all the various things to look forward to in 2025. I know you possibly couldn't write about absolutely everything, but I thought this would be
Well, you say that, because I've got another one coming out for Girls on the Ball, which is more like focused on the UK.
Okay, so combined, you might talk about everything.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, keep your eyes peeled for that one. But I thought it'd be a good way to find out from you guys what you're looking forward to this year. And I guess it's primarily going to look at the end of the 24-25 season, if you like, and the summer. And there will be a nod to things happening from September onwards. God, that feels weird to say because we've only just started the year. So yeah, we got some nice stuff in from people. There's so much, I mean, domestically, as you touched on, Champions League, Nations League, the Euros, the Northern Super League, WAFCON returns, the under-17s and under-19s, Euros, the list goes on. But you guys sent in some suggestions, so we thought we would talk through those. And obviously, first and probably most obvious is the Euros. Lots of you said that you're looking forward to the Euros in the summer 2025. It is taking place in Switzerland, of course. We finally got the dates and the schedule just before Christmas, and we've made our list. We've checked it twice, and I do think we're going to make every location and a game a day.
And every team.
And every team.
That's the plan. Yeah. Every location, every team, and a game a day. Well, for the group stage games, a game a day when there's a match day.
Yes. So a bit like the Euros, I think there was 20 match days and we did 20 games. So I think the plan is to try and do that again this time around Switzerland. We've got our accommodation booked. Guys, have you started booking flights, cars, trains, planes, automobiles?
We need to figure the rest of it out.
Yeah, we've got, listen, we've got the Airbnb, we've got the schedule.
We need to figure out the work bit.
We need to figure out the work bit. But I think we will drive over. That's probably the easiest way to do it. We drove to Sweden in 2013. We can definitely drive to... We've actually driven to every Euros that we've done. 2013,
we drove to France as well.
2017, that was the World Cup. We did 2017 Euros in the Netherlands, which we drove to. Obviously drove around England for that Euros. Now we're doing it again.
Yeah, it's all about the driving.
Oh God.
We're going to drive over and then hopefully drive down into Italy afterwards for a much needed break. So
yeah,
it just makes sense.
Already thinking about that.
Have the car with us.
Yeah, so really looking forward to it. Looking forward to exploring. I mean, I've been to Switzerland before, but never properly.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of lakes here and there, but not,
short trips.
Not properly. I've done Geneva, I think, with Chelsea when they played a couple of seasons ago. Lucerne. No, that's another place.
Team at K or Z?
I can't remember now.
Oh, you'll tell us.
But yeah, I've been there. And Arsenal played Zurich a couple of seasons ago.
Yes.
So I've done that, but that's only been for
I went to Zurich for an England-Switzerland game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only ever been short trips. Understandable because it's so expensive. But yeah, I'm looking forward. It's so beautiful though. It's so pretty.
It's going to be so pretty. We're going to get up to a lot. There's so many interesting games as well. I mean, I think we called it England were always going to draw Wales in the group. But then also have to have the Netherlands as well. Obviously the Serena Wiegman connection and France, who are France. A long-standing kind of rivalry there. So that's going to be an interesting group. I'm actually more confident than other people, I think.
Oh God, let's not start that now. But it's good. If you want to start the year confident, that's good. But here's we picked out some like exciting fixtures, which I'm looking forward to. And this all, of course, depends on whether we get accreditation and all that jazz. But the aim is Switzerland, Norway opening game. Going to be very exciting. Denmark, Sweden, looking forward to that one. Spain, Portugal's another good one. There's some really England, Netherlands, of course, and all the England games. England, Wales is going to be a good one. Sweden, Germany. So many spicy fixtures. So yeah, that's obviously the first one we had to start with, of things to look forward to in 2025, because
that's the big one. And for you as well as me, I think both personally, it's a great one. It's always good to be at major tournament, but professionally as well. We've had some brilliant major tournaments in the last few years, and to get to work major tournaments, there's nothing quite like it. It's incredibly tiring and intense, and there's nothing quite like it. But then you feel at the end, even if you're exhausted, it's like the most rewarding, satisfying work piece that you can do, I think. And I always have that blip afterwards where I'm like, nothing's going to be quite the same again because we're not in a major tournament. So yeah, very much looking forward to that kind of high again. And also the chocolate, the cheese, the beer, like not a bad place to go culinary wise. I'm excited to sample everything. She's just going to be eating fondue for the 4 weeks.
It's going to be great. I can't wait. Okay, another one that we had a few suggestions for was the Northern Super League kicking off in Canada in April. Still no fixtures yet that I could find. If you are looking for a new team to support, you've got the Halifax Tides, the Montreal Roses, the Ottawa Rapids, AFC Toronto, Calgary Wild, and Vancouver Rise. Now, I know in this household, I have no choice in terms of who I support. We will be supporting the team furthest away in Vancouver, Vancouver Rise. So I was thinking to myself when I was doing some research last night, like, what if it fell in April on a day, first game like that we could actually make? Because I tell you what, Toronto, it's not that far away if you're doing like a pretty short trip. Now, we did Vancouver for 4 days last New Year, which was ridiculous. I'd like to not repeat that.
I'd love to repeat that.
But maybe when those fixtures drop, we'll have a look at our diary and see if it's feasible. How cool would it be to go to the first game?
It would be very cool. Can it be Vancouver?
They could be playing away. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
If people who haven't followed us or newcomers, I lived in Vancouver, on Vancouver Island for a little while. So Vancouver is my happy place, and I support the Canucks, Vancouver Canucks, in the hockey. And they were very unhappy that there wasn't a women's hockey team at the moment, although they seem to be ramping it up in terms of hosting games in Vancouver. So hopefully not too long before the women's hockey comes to Vancouver. And then now we've got a women's football team. So I was actually looking at all of the gear that they've got on sale yesterday to see if I should splash out and get myself a hat or something.
Well, let's just put it this way. We're not going to promise anything, but if we can make a game, we will try. So watch this space. Next up, we've had some suggestions about January transfer business, because it is always an exciting time, can impact how a team finishes the season. There could be some surprises in there. There can be some surprises of people who don't go somewhere when you think they're going to go. So there's already, of course, been some movement from clubs, and we, of course, expect there to be more. Who has impressed you thus far? I mean, I think Everton are doing some good business.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to see. Obviously, they got their new ownership in just before Christmas, and it's obviously freed up a bit of funding. And I think there's going to be a buoyancy around the whole club, as it were, because I think things are changing. I think the big problem has been injuries and thin squads. And I think if you can add to that squad, and they have been doing that, I think really, really astute signings in terms of, Hayley Ladd coming in. She wasn't getting minutes. She's desperate for minutes ahead of the Euros with Wales in the summer. Quality player, like experienced as well. So brings so much to the table as well. And kind of, for whatever reason, got overlooked at Manchester United this season, has barely got on the football field. So I think a good start for her and a good start for Everton. And then a couple of loan moves as well, I think, which are going to be really, really good. So it's just about bolstering the squad, bolstering the numbers, bringing in some quality. They brought in a player from Barcelona, who I think is going to be, just being able to get her playing senior football as well. It's going to be an experience for her. But yeah, exciting times.
I did read an article to say that it didn't look like Chloe Kelly was going to move away from Manchester City in this window, which surprised me. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think The problem for Chloe Kelly at the moment is the injuries at City mean that City will be less inclined to let her go. I think for Chloe Kelly, though, if what happened in the first half of the season happens in the second half of the season, that even when there are injuries, she gets overlooked.
Yeah.
That is not going to do her any good, and certainly puts her England place in a bit more jeopardy than it's been already. I know she's been called up in recent camps, but I think Serena Wiegmann has made it clear that she needs to be playing regular football to be able to really be considered. I think she's still got a bit of way to go with England as well. I know she obviously got the headlines at the Euro 2022 and all of that stuff, but for all of what she did there. But I do think sometimes when she's given a starting shirt, she doesn't always perform as she could. So she's probably got a bit of work to do.
Which is hard when you're not getting consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a bit chicken
It's
and egg,
not
isn't it?
necessarily on her. It's just the way that the situation is at the moment. I do think, whether she could get a loan away, that might be really useful. Or, I think it's a problem when you're desperate to get out, or not when that she's desperate to get out, but when you're needing to get out, get game time. At this stage, people are still trying to figure out their squads and figure out what's happening next window as well. And people will see that maybe she's on the last stretch of her contract and will come for free in the summer or whatever. So
also seeing the likes of West Ham extending players' contracts, which is always good to see. You know, Amber Tiziak, I think, is signed until 2028. Anouk Denton has signed as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And I think it was what Rhiannon Skinner said in the summer was that the big problem of their turnover is that they have players on short-term contracts and then they lose them in the summer, and you're basically doing a rebuild pretty much every year. So this is going some way to addressing that. I think January window is always partly one eye on what you can fix for this season, but also preparation for the coming season. So you're looking one season ahead almost.
Or window ahead.
Yeah, one window ahead. And we saw Carla Ward always used to do it at Aston Villa. She'd always buy in January, really, well, to bolster the squad, because you do bolster the squad, but the idea is that they will really come into their own the next season as well. So I think it's really good from West Ham to be doing that, keeping players. They need to start having that kind of retention, because you're never going to get it. Just puts you on the back foot if you're starting with a new squad every year.
We'll do more of a deep dive into the January transfer window when it closes. Maybe we'll score some teams in terms of how they did. Any surprises, anything like that. So we won't do a huge in-depth thing about it.
I think it's going to be interesting. There are going to be a couple of big names floating around. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, you've got Germa, who is very, very highly rated, but also highly linked with a move to Europe, away from San Diego. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with her. Kara Walsh is still floating on around there. Whether that happens in January, I don't know, but I think there have been signs that she's ready to leave Barcelona. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plans out.
Watch this space. Plenty for us to talk about when we do our deeper dive. Another few comments that came in was about new managers. Of course, we've got Ireland and Scotland hopefully naming new managers soon. I'm very excited to see who Ireland go with. There are a couple of those jobs going, and see as well how they get on, those teams get on in the Nations League. Villa, of course, are still searching, and Arsenal are yet to confirm their permanent head coach. New managers is an exciting one to look out for this year.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, interesting. I saw today that Casey Stoney, Catherine Batt from The Telegraph, reported that Casey Stoney is linked with a Canadian job. Canadian head coach. Obviously, that's going free at the moment. Obviously, there's the Australia head coach. I know they were looking at Joe Montemurro, but he's obviously just basically moved to Lyon. So in last summer. So whether he would be interested in that, I don't know. There's a few openings here and there, domestically and international. That's going to be super interesting to see how that works out.
One to look out for. Next up, we had a couple of these as well for youth major tournaments, under 17s and under 19s. I'm right in saying have yet to qualify for the Euros that are taking place this year. The qualifiers, I think, are happening in February.
Somewhere in February, I think. It's
the qualifiers.
March, April, mainly for England. Some of the other nations are going in February.
So under 17s Euros will be in the Faroe Islands, and the under 19s Euros will be in Poland. Now, should they qualify, we definitely hope to get out to at least some of those fixtures. So that's one to look out for, and one that we are very excited about. So wishing both teams the best of luck.
If the under 17s do well, they could qualify for the World Cup. So
well, you've just ruined my last point now.
It links together
ahead.
rather than going to the under-23s.
Go on.
So the under-17s World Cup now goes annually. It used to be biannually. So yes, annually, and Morocco have it for the next 5 years. It's getting bigger, so there are more teams in the competition. I think 5 European teams will now qualify or get a place. So 5 European teams from the Euros can qualify for the World Cup, which gives everyone a bigger chance of going there. So fingers crossed, touch wood, Natalie Henderson's team can get to the World Cup, and it is my kind of pipe dream for the year to get out to Morocco if they do.
And the Faroe Islands. Okay, now the under-23s are involved in European League.
Yeah, that's correct? Continuing. So they, I think the finals are in like April or something.
Okay.
So yeah, it's this new European competition that has been organised to try and add competitive games or a bit more competition to Europe. Under-23 football is trying to bridge that gap between the under-19s, occasionally the under-20s, and then the seniors, because it's quite a big leap. If you think about, you could play your last competitive international football at 18 years old. And then before that, you didn't really have anything competition unless you were lucky enough to break into the seniors. So it's just trying to bridge that gap. It's going to be interesting to see how it develops over the coming years. I reckon there has to be an official Euros at some point. Like they have the under-21s in the men's game. You should probably have an under-23s in the women's game. I think it's a responsibility of UEFA to try and help bridge that gap. You see what like FIFA doing with the under-17s and under-20s going. The under-20s haven't gone annually yet, but they're becoming more regular competition, trying to up the levels of nations around the world in terms of that pathway. So I think UEFA have to sort of buck up now and get that under-23 Euros in. And so that's my plea.
Plenty to look forward to this year in terms of youth major tournaments. We've of course got the Champions League, 3 English teams still in the quarterfinals. We still don't know who's playing who, as UEFA want to wait until the absolute last minute,
6th of February, I think,
to make the draw, because who needs to plan?
Like, seriously.
Yes, but the cool thing is 3 teams still in it, which is very exciting. Who's going to win it? I don't know. It could be Barcelona again, which would be dead boring, but it is cool to have 3 English teams in the quarterfinals.
We're going to Lisbon for the final.
We are going to Lisbon for the final.
So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I love Portugal.
Looking forward to that. Nations League then returns. Lots of people excited about that. England are in League A with Portugal, Belgium and Spain, obviously, because who else would they play? Wales are also in League A with Italy, Denmark and Sweden, because who else would Denmark and Sweden play? Scotland are in League A with Germany, Netherlands and Austria. Northern Ireland are in League B with Poland, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Romania. And then the Republic of Ireland are in League B with Turkey, Slovenia and Greece. The finals of the competition will take place between October and December later this year, and the results then will determine the leagues for FIFA 2027 World Cup qualifying competition. So it all merges into each other, doesn't it?
I'm not too sad about our draw for England.
Okay.
I think a nice February trip to the Algarve is just what we need.
Well, you have to go to Belgium again and Spain again. It's like we're always there.
Yeah, but Spain is fun because you can go somewhere warm. Belgium, they give you beer in the press box, so after the game,
perks everywhere,
winning. And Portugal, we get to go to the Algarve, which we were praying for it to go to the Algarve. We thought it would be like Lisbon or Porto, but we spend a lot of time down in Faro, and it's in Portimao, so it's about an hour away from Faro. So,
although we've never been to Porto, so I wouldn't mind that at some point.
No, I know, but like
at some point,
it's really convenient for us.
Okay, there is a lot happening that we're going to cover because we would look if we went into everything that was happening, it would turn into an hours long podcast. But for GOTB this year, here's what we're aiming to cover, at least in part, for the rest of the 2024-25 season. The WSL and Championship, obviously, the FA Cup, the Subway Cup, yum yum, Nations League, Champions League, under-17s and under-19s qualifiers, and hopefully, should they qualify some of those tournaments, please qualify, we really want to go there. Euros 2025, and then anything else we can squeeze in. If it's a Northern Super League match, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe we find a day.
NWSL.
And maybe we get there for the start of the NWSL. Who knows? But that's what we're going to try and do. It's going to be chock-a-block. We are on FA Cup duty this weekend. We've got Brighton versus Durham. tomorrow.
Saturday, yeah.
And then we've got Fulham versus London City Lionesses at Craven Cottage.
Fulham are the lowest team left in the competition, so there's going to be a biggie.
Yeah, and it's
very
at Craven
It's
Cottage.
proper, like, true FA Cup stuff. You want to cast your eyes over the teams that don't normally get the attention, and I think it will be great for Fulham.
Do you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure London City Lionesses drew the lowest team left in the competition. Moneyfields, and we were there for that one at the beginning of January last year.
A trend that we need to keep up.
Yeah, a little routine that we're going to keep going. We are then, of course, back ourselves on podcast duty next week. Me for Upfront, you for the Guardians Women's Football Weekly, the WSL returns next weekend as well. We will go live tomorrow too when we're back from the Brighton game, so do join us for that if you like. It's always nice to hear from you and have a chat. Otherwise, we'll be back with our next episode of Extra Time with Girls on the Ball early next week, with no doubt lots of FA Cup drama to talk about and WSL action to look forward to, and maybe even a few more signing announcements. Stay tuned.